dharmam Sanatanam varnashamacharayutam yatkumam vindate param. Maharaj Yudhishthira said, "My dear Lord, I wish to hear from you about the principles of religion by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. I wish to hear about the general occupational duties of human society and the system of social and spiritual advancement known as Varnashram Dharma." Sanatana Dharma, purport Srila Prabhupada. Sanatana Dharma means devotional service. The word Sanatana refers to that which is eternal, which does not change but continues in all circumstances. We have several times explained that the eternal occupational duty of the living being. We have several times explained what the eternal occupational duty of the living being is. Indeed, it has been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Sarupavoy Krishnera Nityadas. The real occupational duty of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Personality of God. Even if one prefers to deviate from this principle, he remains a servant because that is his eternal position. But once serves Maya, the illusory material energy. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, is an attempt to guide human society to serving the personality of God instead of serving the material world with no real profit. Our actual experience is that every man, animal, bird, and beast, indeed every living entity, is engaged in rendering service. Even though one's body or one's superficial religion may change, every living entity is always engaged in the service of someone. Therefore, the mentality of service is called the eternal occupational duty. This eternal occupational duty can be organized through the institution of Varnashram, in which there are 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and 4 Ashram, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Thus, Yudhishthira Maharaj inquired from Narada Muni about the principle of Sanatana Dharma for the benefit of human society. Can you continue? I stop sharing.
Bhavan Prajapate Shakshad Atmaja Parameshtina Sutanam Sammato Brahmams Tapo Yoga Samadhibhi. O best of the Brahmanas, you are directly the son of Prajapati, Lord Brahma. Because of your austerities, mystic yoga, and trance, you are considered the best of all of Lord Brahma's sons. Narayana para vipra dharmam guhyam param viduhu karuna sadhava shantas tvad vidhana tatapare. No one is superior to you in peaceful life and mercy, and no one knows better than you how to execute devotional service or how to become the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, you know all the principles of confidential religious life. You know all the principles of confidential religious life, and no one knows them better than you. Yudhishthir Maharaj knew that Narad Muni is the supreme spiritual master of human society, who can teach the path of spiritual liberation, leading to the understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, it is for this purpose that Narad Muni compiled his Bhakti Sutra and gave directions in the Narada Pancharatra. To learn about religious principles and the perfection of life, one must take instruction from the disciplic succession of Narad Muni. Our Krishna consciousness movement is directly in the line of Brahma Sampradaya. Narada Muni received instructions from Lord Brahma and in turn transmitted the instructions to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva instructed his son Sukadeva Goswami, who spoke Srimad Bhagavatam. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Because Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Sukadeva Goswami and Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna, there is no difference between them. If we strictly follow the principles of disciplic succession, we are certainly on the right path of spiritual liberation or eternal engagement in devotional service. Shri Narada Uvacha Natva Bhagavate Jaya Lokanam Dharma Sevate vakshe sanatanam dharmam narayana mukhatrutam. Sri Narad Muni said, after first offering my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system, of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayan. The word Aja refers to Krishna, who explains in Bhagavad Gita 4:6, Ajopi San Avyayatma, I'm never existing, and thus I never take birth. There's no change in my existence. Somebody likes to continue reading?
I'm working on the poster.
Okay. If you want, I can read Sanskrit and then you can read English if anybody needs some help with Sanskrit.
I can try, Mataji.
Okay.
Yo avaryata atma amishena dakshatvam tu dharmata lokanam swaste adaste tapa badiksha ashram. Lord Narayana, along with his partial manifestation Nara, appeared in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Badririksha Ashrama.
Vidrik Ashrama. Yeah, he's still there. Imagine. He's still there. Waiting.
Dharma Mulam hi Bhagavan Sarvad Vedamayohari Smarta Chad Tadvidam Rajan Yena Chatma Prashidati. The Supreme Being, the Personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhisthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. As stated by Yamaraj, Dharma tu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. Yamaraj, the representative of the Lord, who takes care of all living beings after their death, gives his verdict as how and when the living being will change his body. He is the authority, and he says that the religious principles consist of the codes and laws given by God. No one can manufacture religion, and therefore manufactured religious systems are rejected by the followers of the Vedic principles. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said, Vedascha sarvamaham eva vedaya. Vedic knowledge means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Therefore, when one speaks of the Vedas, scriptures, religion, or the principle of everyone's occupational duty, all of them must aim at understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6 therefore says, Savai pumsa parodharmo yato bhakti adokshase ahaitakiya prarada yayatma shuprashidati. In other words, the religious principles aim at hearing how to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. That service must be unmotivated and unchecked by material conditions. Then human society will be happy in all respects. The Smriti, the scriptures following the principles of Vedic knowledge, are considered the evidence of Vedic principles. There are 20 different types of scripture for following religious principles, and among them the scriptures of Manu and Yajnavalkya are considered to be all-pervading authorities. It is in the Yajnavalkya Smriti said, Shruti Smriti Sadacharya Swayascha Priyam Atmana Samyaka Sankalpa Kamo Dharma Mulam Idam Smritam. One should learn human behavior from the Shruti, the Vedas, and from Smriti, the scripture following the Vedic principles. Sri Rupa Goswami in Bhaktarasam Sindhu says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancha Charya Virim Vina Aikanti Hare Bhaktir Upatayava Kalpate. The purpose is that to become a devotee, one must follow. The purpose is that to become a devotee, one must follow the principles laid down in the Shruti and the Smriti. One must follow the codes of the Puranas and the Pancha Trika Vidi. One cannot be a pure devotee without following the Shruti and Smriti, and the Shruti and Smriti without devotional service cannot lead one to the perfection of life. Therefore, from the evidence of the conclusion is that without bhakti, devotional service, there is no question of religious principles. God is the central figure in the performance of all religious principles. Almost everything going on in this world is as religion is devoid of any idea of devotional service and is therefore condemned by the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without devotional service, so-called religious principles are only cheating. Yes, so much in this is one verse, Mataji.
Yeah, very intense, but very clear, powerful, very heavy, but true, necessary. Any
Thank you
other
for
comments?
yeah. No comments. Maybe Mataji wants to read this verse.
I don't know. Nitikishore, are you able to? Or maybe she's cooking.
Yeah, okay, I can read this, Mataji, then I'll start cooking. Satyam daya tapasacham titiksh ka shamadama ahimsa brahmacharyam cha tyaga swadhyaya arjavam santosha samadrika seva graha ग्रमेया हो परमाशनय नृणाम विपायहेक्षा मौनमात्मा विमर्शनम अनादयादे संविभागो भूतभयश्च यथाहता तेषवात्मा देवता बुद्धि सुताराम नृषु पांडव श्रवणं कीर्तनं चास्य स्मरणं महात्मां गते सेवेज्या मन्त्रेर्दास्यं साख्यम् आत्मा समर्पणम् नृणाम् अयं परो धर्म सर्वेषां समुदारता त्रिंशल्लोकसनवान् राजन् सर्वात्मा येन तुष्यति. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings: truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fast on certain days of month, bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of mind, control of senses, non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading of scriptures, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in human form, as the part of Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhishthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
It says simply by acquiring these qualifications. And I'm like, oh my God, Zod, everything is simply by acquiring these qualifications.
Yeah. In order, this is why last. Oh yeah, in order that human beings be distinct from animals, the great Saint Narada recommends that every human being be educated in terms of above mentioned 30 qualifications. Nowadays, there is propaganda everywhere all over the world. For a secular state, a state interested only in mundane activities. But if the citizens of state are not educated in above mentioned good qualities, how can there be happiness? For example, if total populace is untruthful, how can the state be happy? Therefore, without consideration of one's belonging in a sectarian religion where Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or any other sect, everyone should be taught to become truthful. Similarly, everyone should be taught to be merciful, and everyone should observe fasting on certain days of month. Everyone should bathe twice a day, cleanse his teeth and body externally, and cleanse his mind internally by remembering the holy name of Lord. The Lord is one, whether one is Hindu, Muslim, or Christian. Therefore, one should chant the holy name of Lord regardless of differences in linguistic pronunciation. Also, everyone should be taught to be careful not to discharge semen unnecessarily. This is very important for all human beings. If semen is discharged unnecessarily, one become extremely. If semen is not discharged unnecessarily, one becomes extremely strong in memory, determination, activity, and the vitality of one's bodily energy. Everyone should also be taught to be simple in thought and feeling and satisfied in body and mind. There are general qualifications of human being. There is no question of secular state or ecclesiastical state unless one is educated in above mentioned 30 qualities. There cannot be any peace. Ultimately, it is recommended Shravanam Kirtanam Chasya Smaranam Mahatmam Gate Seve Sevejya Vanantir Dasyam Sakyam Atma Samarpanam. Everyone should become a devotee of Lord because by becoming a devotee of Lord, one automatically acquires the other qualities. Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagvatya Kinchana Sarver Gunastatra Samaste Surah Harav Harav Abhaktasya Kuto Mahaguna Rathen Asti Dhavato Bahi. In one who has unflinching devotional service to Krishna, all good qualities of Krishna and demigods are consistently manifest. However, he who has no devotion to Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualification because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the eternal feature of the Lord. Our external feature of the Lord. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Our Krishna conscious movement, therefore, is all embracing human civilization, should take it very seriously and practice its principles for the peace of the world.
Right. Nice purpose, no? Beautiful. I like this verse very much. Like the goal is not sit down and focus on building your character, go and develop one quality after another. No. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunestatra samasate sura. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manoratena sati dhavato bahi. We don't need to go and separately cultivate good qualities. just cultivate devotion, just love Krishna, just develop eagerness for Krishna, then all the good qualities will become manifest automatically. I love this verse so much. It's like very directional, very practical. Like, it's not about like what do you call it, toxic positivity. I am great, I am this, I am not focusing on us. The point is not me. The point is not me developing good qualities. The point is putting Krishna in the center. It's not about me becoming a good wife, good husband, good disciple, good teacher, good whatever, good Bhagavatam class giver, good kirtaniya. No, the point is Krishna. The point is not me. Sometimes we get lost in I have to develop good qualities, and then that becomes the goal and Krishna goes out of picture. But the whole point of Krishna consciousness is putting Krishna in the center. When we put Krishna in the center, everything kind of, all the puzzles get set.
Mataji, one of the qualities is discrimination between right and wrong. So that's just in general that, we should know if someone tells us do this or do that and it's not right in our mind, we should voice our opinion and say, no, it doesn't sound right, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Kanti Prabhu will say more about that. he's natural at that.
What is the question?
One of the qualities is about, should I go back?
Discrimination.
This one is to not make discrimination. But
no, it's above. It's like the first few. Bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination.
Yeah.
Discrimination between right and wrong. Yeah, the
Right.
is
Yeah.
let me see the Sanskrit.
Here. Iksha, distinguishing between good and bad. Titiksha, iksha.
What is that?
Yeah.
Shiksha. Shiksha. Distinguishing between good and bad. So what's the question?
We should speak up. We shouldn't just hold ourselves. We should speak up when we see something is off, and we should voice our opinion, she says.
Who says that?
Rukmini Priya Mataji.
Oh. Yeah, no, I got distracted. So, well, it depends, you have to choose your battles. So that's another Arjavan, freedom from mental duplicity. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada explains simplicity as just telling the truth. At the same time, you cannot just say anything you see. Somebody wears a sari with the choli not matching, and you just say, hey, Mataji, your choli doesn't match your sari. Is it necessary? Is it beneficial? So it should be tempered, like Bhagavad Gita says, one should speak the truth, but should also be beneficial. So no one has to discriminate. As I said, one should choose one's own battles. You cannot just criticize everything, whatever you see, and criticize constantly everything because, oh, this is not right. You got to, I'm not saying one has to be diplomatic, but one has to be just, okay, where you want to invest your energy, or where is your duty, or where is, we could say, is it really helping the person, or is just a blurting something out impulsively? So at least, yeah, one should distinguish between good and bad. Next step is what you do about that. Sometimes you may just ignore, not because of fear, but just because maybe you have another mission, something else to do.
Yeah, I was thinking how all the qualities have to be put together, like speaking the truth without distortion or deviation, but also daya, sympathy to everyone's suffering. So, when you put both together, because somebody may be strong with satyam, but somebody for contemporary, for my husband, this is easier. It's very easy for him, but this one is little hard for him. But for me, this one is very hard, but this one is very easy. So but the point is to put both together. And then even here, titiksha, first we tolerate, and like Prabhu said, discriminate and see what is the purpose of me sharing this. Is it going to be beneficial for the person, etc.? And then control my mind, not allowing my mind to act whimsically. And then, of course, then I can distinguish between good and bad, and do the thing in, Romapad Maharaj, right? He often said, do the right thing in the right way. Because sometimes we want to do the right thing, but in the wrong way.
Yes, Mataji.
So the
Very-
other point is, like, again, you have to see where you put your energy. It's like, I don't know, you go to a railway station, it's all dirty. How much time you want to spend on it? You want to write an article, how dirty it is, or you want to talk with your friends about this. You just, okay, catch the train, move on.
Yeah, pick your battles, as they say.
Okay.
संस्कारा यत्र विचिन्नः सद्विजोजो जगदाय ईयध्यायानदानानि विहितानि द्विजामनां जन्म कर्म वदातानं क्रियश्चाश्रामचोदिताः. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadana Samskara ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma, are Dvijas, or twice born. Such Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behavior, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the four ashramas: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. After giving a general list of 30 qualifications for one's behavior, Narad Muni now describes the principles of the four varnas and four ashramas. A human being must be trained in the above-mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, he is not even a human being. Then, among such qualified persons, the varnashram process should be introduced. In the varnashram system, the first ceremony for purification is Garbhadana, which is performed with mantras at the time of sex for propagating a good child. One who uses sex life not for sensual pleasures, but only to beget children according to the reformatory method is also accepted as a brahmachari. One should not waste semen on sensual pleasure, violating the principles of Vedic life. Restraint in sex is possible, however, only when the populace is trained in the above-mentioned 30 qualities. Otherwise, it is not possible. Even if one is born in a family of Dvijas or twice born, if they have not followed the reformatory process, he is called a Dvijabandhu, not one of the twice born, but a friend of the twice born. The whole purpose of this system is to create good population. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, when women are polluted, the populace is Varna Shankara. And when the Varna Shankara population increases, the situation of the entire world becomes hellish. Therefore, all Vedic literature strongly warn against creating Varna Shankara population. When there is Varna Shankara population, the people cannot be properly controlled for peace and prosperity, regardless of great legislative assemblies, parliaments, and similar bodies.
So, in other words, is the science how to get good population, and the samskaras help because they create the right starting with Garbhadan Samskara, they create the right situation in the mind to attract noble persons, noble souls, and souls who are already purified. But if somebody avoids that and just unite based on Rajaguna, then of course other type of souls, meaning souls with different karma, different baggage, come, and then you cannot consider them vijas. Of course, they can be purified later, but as Srila Prabhupada say, it's difficult. It's much more difficult because they have a because they have a different baggage. Say, and there is Varna Sankara. Varna Sankara literally means mixture of Varnas. The people cannot be properly controlled for peace and prosperity because they have already so much baggage. They may be violent, they may be disobedient, they may be just agitated mentally, maybe depressed. So it's hard. They're just problematic people and they create problems in relation, problems in their education, problems in their work, maybe they're lazy. So they all, when the society full of people with psychological problems, then obviously it's a very problematic situation. And so much energy is just for policing, for people keeping people in jail, for processing, so much judicial work, tribunals, and then hospitals, and then people become drug addicts and this and that. So much energy of human life, just to try to address very, very, very basic problems. Okay, that's my comment.
Prabhu, you want to do the verse?
Viprasya dhyayanadini shadanyasya pratigraha ragyo vritti praja guptur avipradva karadibi. For a Brahmana, there are 6 occupational duties. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or Kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on Brahmanas, but he may make his livelihood by levying minimal taxes, custom duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. Okay, I mean, as usual, Srila Prabhupada kind of expands the translation, not often, not always, but it expands the translation. In other words, here you say kara adibihi, means taxes, etc. Kara means hand, and it's kind of a sarcastic word in Sanskrit. It means the hand of the government. The same word as hand. No, it's the hand of the government that comes into your pocket and take out taxes. So kara means tax. Taxes, adibi, and etc. And so Srila Prabhupada explained what does it mean, etc. Custom duties, fines for punishments, and so on. So that's Kshatriya. So purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained the position of Brahmana and Kshatriya as follows. So Brahmanas have 6 occupational duties, of which 3 are compulsory, namely studying the Vedas, worshiping the deities, and giving charity. By teaching, by inducing others to worship the deity, and by accepting gifts, the Brahmanas receive the necessity of life. This is also confirmed in Manu Samhita, Sannam tu karmanam asya trini karmani jivika yajja nadhyapane chaiva vishuddhacha pratigraha. Of the 6 occupational duties of the Brahmana, 3 are compulsory. namely worship of the deity, study of the Vedas, and the giving of charity. In exchange, a Brahmana should receive charity, and this should be his means of livelihood. A Brahmana cannot take up any professional occupational duty for his livelihood. The Shastra especially stresses if one claims to be a Brahmana, he cannot engage in the service of anyone else. Otherwise, he at once falls from his position and becomes a Shudra. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami belonged to a very respectful family. But because they engaged in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah, not even as ordinary clerks, but as ministers, they were ostracized from Brahminical society. Indeed, they became like Mohammedans and even changed their names. Unless a Brahman is very pure, he cannot accept charity from others. Charity should be given to those who are pure. Even if one is born in a family of Brahmanas, if one acts as a Shudra, one cannot accept charity, for this is strictly prohibited. Although the Kshatriya almost as qualified as the Brahmana, even they cannot accept charity. This is strictly prohibited, this verse, by the word apratigraha. What to speak of the lower social orders? Even the Kshatriya must not accept charity. The king or government may levy taxes upon the citizens in various ways, by revenue duties, custom duties, realization of fines, and so on, provided the king is able to give full protection to his subject to assure the security of their life and property. Unless he is able to give protection, he cannot levy taxes. However, a king must not levy any tax upon the Brahmanas and the Vaishnava fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. So this is important. I mean, there are so many points, and we can discuss if there are questions, but this is important. He cannot levy taxes upon Brahmanas and Vaishnava fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. So it's not that a Vaishnava who just works 9 to 5 in the office or as a computer programmer or something can say, well, I'm a Vaishnava, I shouldn't pay any tax. No. If it's fully engaged, like for instance, if it's Pujari doing all day, cooking for the deities, worship the deity, dressing the deity, and just getting a minimal maintenance, then okay, you can say it cannot be taxed. But not that you have a business and then you say, no, I'm a Vaishnava, I cannot be taxed, or I'm a Brahmana. So even traditionally, Brahmana, if he works as a Brahmana, then maybe not be taxed. But if he does business, say he has a lot of cows and then he makes a lot of ghees and trades in ghee, then of course it can be also taxed, because those are not Brahminical activities. So it's not just a caste. Oh, I'm from this caste, I cannot be taxed. No, if you act as a Brahmana, then you're not taxable. Just like sometimes there are charities, right? Even in the Western world, sometimes churches, priests, they don't tax because the government say, well, the church is doing something good for society, it's training people to be religious, so we don't tax the church. But then if the same priest goes and opens a business, has nothing to do with the church, then of course it can be taxed. Is that clear? Any question on this? There are many, many points in this. Any comments from anybody? We've done. Shall we move to? Who reads the next?
I'll try. Vayastu Varta Vritti Snana Nityam Brahma Kulanuga Sudasya Dvija Susrusa Vrittis Cha Swamino Bhavet. Translation. The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the Brahmanas and engage in such occupational duties as agriculture, trade, and protection of cows. For the Sudras, the only duty is to accept the master from a higher social order and engage in his service. (16) Varta vichara salini yayavara silochanam vipravritis chaturdenyam shreyas chaturataraha. As an alternative, a Brahmana may always take on to the Vaishya's occupational duty of agriculture, cow protection, or trade. He may depend on that which he has received without begging. He may beg in paddy field every day. He may collect paddy left in a field by its proprietor, or he may collect food grains left here and there in shops of grain dealers. These are the four means of livelihood that may also be adopted by Brahmanas. Among these four, each of them in succession is better than the one preceding it. Purport. A Brahmana is sometimes offered land and cows in charity, and thus for his livelihood he may act in the same way as a Vaishya, by cultivating land, giving protection to the cows, and trading off his surpluses. A better process, however, is to pick up grains from a field or from a dealer's shop without begging. Jagahanyo nutanam vritim anapadivaje nara rit ranjanayam apastu sarvesham api sarvasaha. Except in time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the Kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others. The occupational duty of a Brahmana should not be accepted by persons in lower social orders, especially Vaishya and Sudras. For example, an occupational duty of the Brahmana is to teach Vedic knowledge, but unless there is an emergency, this professional duty should not be accepted by the Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudras. Even a Kshatriya cannot accept the duties of a Brahmana unless there is an emergency, and then if he does so, he should not accept charity from anyone else. Sometimes Brahmanas protect against our Krishna consciousness movement for creating Brahmanas from Europeans, or sorry. Sometimes Brahmanas protest against our Krishna consciousness movement for creating Brahmanas from Europeans, or in other words, from Melachas and Yavanas. This movement, however, is here supported in Srimad Bhagavatam. At the present moment, society is in a chaotic condition, and everyone has given up the cultivation of spiritual life, which is especially meant for the Brahmanas. Because spiritual culture has been stopped all over the world, there is now an emergency, and therefore it is now time to train those who are considered lowered and condemned, so that they may become Brahmanas and take up the work of spiritual progress. The spiritual progress of human society has been stopped, and this should be considered an emergency. Here is a solid support from Narad Muni of the movement known as Krishna consciousness.
So sweet. Prabhupada is so sweet.
Yeah, so he's saying there's some protests about accepting people from Europe and all, but we
Today
should
I
carry
received,
on the movement, right? Go
yeah.
ahead, Matthew.
Today I received a video. My father sent me something. I think black devotee, some African devotee was chanting mantras, something. And then the video is, let me just play it. An African Hindu priest performs puja in a fascinating confluence of cultures. That's the name of the.
Narayana Maha, Marvai Maha, Govindai Maha, Krishnadev Maha, Om Arsadan Vikram Vamanasidaran Maha, Vishikeshar Maha, Marvai Maha, Narayana Maha, Vasudevam Krishnan, Krishnan Manudan, Guru, Himakshara, Nisimai Madudan, Vinod Mamopenjan, Karai, Krishna Maha, Om that Vishnu, Paraman Paragan Siddha, Sindhri Deva Jasuraram, Katri Kanyabo Jagavan Sutlendere, Vishnu Yadvaram Param. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaram, Guru Shiksha Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha, Shirarati Prasmaram, Vapishta Devan Brahma, Shiramarar Bharandam Vande Guru Param Param. This year,
It's kind of funny because he's doing some puja for a car or something, right? It's a new car or something, is that?
Looks like.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, but the point being, Hindu, a lot of Hindu people are starting to appreciate that Western people, like, I mean, it's because of Prabhupada that, whites and blacks and all colors are, and pinks and yellows, all Kirata, Hulinda, Pulinda, Pulkasha, all the Abhira, all kinds of races have become Brahmanas. So, and earlier, I'm sure people were protesting, hey, how can you make these people Brahmanas? They're not. In fact, even today in Jagannath Puri, they don't let anybody who's a foreigner inside the temple. So yeah, even today there is caste system. I remember when I married a foreigner, a lot of my relatives disowned me, and one of my aunts, she still doesn't talk to me. 21 years we are married, she still doesn't talk to me. So yeah, there are people who have a problem with, they say don't even drink water from somebody who is not born Brahmana. There are those kind of theories from where I come from. But in my experience, I've seen that a lot of foreign devotees have much more culture and much more, they value Vedic culture so much more, they follow it. And other people may be born in Brahmana families, but they've actually lost all their culture, and they get into all kinds of bad habits. And they know they're very much about blood. Oh, Brahmanical is in my blood, they say, like that, like DNA. But DNA is secondary to consciousness. Am I right, Prabhu?
Of course. I mean, because ultimately, the soul can become purified. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point that it's an emergency. So the Brahmanas have stopped doing this job. In India, basically, the old Brahmanas, they just go to become technologists, Shudras.
Yeah.
They have to go to IIT, which is a school for Shudras, engineers. So, and even the Brahmanas who act as Brahmanas in temples, they hardly teach anything to anybody. They just sit there and they just give some powder, red powder, yellow powder, some water, some some mantras. They do some samskaras like this, but they don't really teach. They don't really act like the mouth of Vishnu. They're supposed to represent Vishnu. Srila Prabhupada say, not just to eat with the mouth, but to speak what Vishnu says. But there is no, or if somebody, so many Mayavadis, they talk all sorts of nonsense. So yeah, because the Brahmanas have lost the most, of course, there are some exceptions, but most people, they don't teach anything, so they don't guide society. They just think either to fill the belly or they enthusiastically become Shudras. And so really they lost their caste. Plus, they're not even born Brahmanas if they are not done the Garbhadana Samskara. So Srila Prabhupada in this particular point, in other purpose, he makes more the point that everybody can become a Brahmana. That's also scriptural. But here is making the point that in an emergency, so certainly it is an emergency. It is an emergency. And so other classes, or even Yavana Milechas, can be trained to do this work, because that's the most important work in society, to learn about spiritual life. There's no more important work. Everybody's just like an animal, just a sophisticated animal, just thinking how to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. That's all that's going on in society. So it's a very, very terrible emergency.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Actually, I was reading in 6th chapter of Jab Dharma that spiritual point of view, if
Where you were
somebody,
reading? Where you were reading?
Daiva Dharma.
Jab Dharma, that spiritual point of view, one can, if one can acquire a Brahminical qualifications, he will be considered as a Brahmana and a Vaishnava, but he can't do things from Shastras which Brahmanas are doing, like Yagya and other things, because then it will be Vyavarika dosha, that I don't know what to say it in English. So something like that I read in Jab Dharma, Prabhu.
Well, in something like that. If you have the exact quote, maybe tomorrow. Right, tomorrow we don't have a class, but next week you can bring the quote. Is it the Bengali edition or is the English edition?
It's English edition, Prabhu.
So maybe next time, or if you have it there, you can read exactly what it says.
I think Monday I can share.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
We only have 3-4 minutes, and this purport is could finish.
Yeah, why don't you read?
Okay. ऋतामृथाभ्यां जीवेत मृतेन प्रमृतेन वा सत्यानृताभ्यामपि वा नास्वावृत्या कदाचन ऋद्धम् उञ्चाशिलं प्रोक्तम् अमृतं यद् अयाचितं मृतं तु नित्यायज्ञा स्यात् प्रमृतं कर्षणं स्मृतम् सत्यानानृतं च वाणिज्यां श्वावृत्तिर्निच सेवनां वर्जयेत्तां सदा विप्रो राजन्याश्च जिगुप्सितां सर्ववेदमयो विप्र सर्वदेवमयो नृपः. In time of emergency, one may accept any of the various types of professions known as Rita, Amrita, Mrita, Pramrita, and Satyanrita. But one should not at any time accept the profession of a dog. The profession of Unchalisha, collecting grains from the field, is called Rita. Collecting without begging is called Amrita. Begging grains is called Mrita, tilling the ground is called Pramrita, and trade is called Satyanrita. Engaging in the service of low-grade persons, however, is called Shvavritti, the profession of the dogs. Specifically, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas should not engage in the low and abominable service of Shudras. Brahmanas should be well acquainted with all the Vedic knowledge, and Kshatriyas should be well acquainted with the worship of demigods. Why it says Brahmanas should be well acquainted with Vedic knowledge and Kshatriyas should be well acquainted with worship of demigods? Ray?
Well, I mean, I don't see it in the Sanskrit, in the translation, frankly. Sada Vipra Rajanya Cha Chugupsitam Sarva Vedamaya Vipra Sarva Deva Maya, the embodiment of all demigods Nripaha.
Because they themselves represent the demigods, so they should be well acquainted or something like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it says Sarva Vedamayo Vipro, Sarva Devamayo Nripaha. So let's read the purport and see if I have a comment later.
As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. The 4 divisions of human society were created by the Supreme Lord according to the 3 modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them. Formerly, the principles of dividing human society into 4 sections, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, were strictly followed. But because of gradual neglect of the Varnashram principles, Varna Shankara, population developed, and the entire institution has now been lost. In this age of Kali, practically everyone is Shudra, Kalau Shudra Sambhava, and finding anyone who is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is very difficult. Although the Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, it is trying to establish the divine Varnashrama institution. For without this division of society, there cannot be peace and prosperity anywhere.
If you want to take Srila Prabhupada's words literally, I mean, in the translation, well, you could take that Kshatriya should be well acquainted with the higher principles of the cosmic balance and opulence and power and everything. In other words, should not be a power disengaged or divorced from the higher beings. Should be at least cultured enough to know that, okay, the power comes from worshipping higher beings, to following the laws of the universe, that there is higher beings, that there are, because as the Kshatriyas are the rulers on earth, that there are rulers in heaven, like Indra, Chandra, Varuna. I mean, we could give different explanations, although I don't see directly. I mean, I don't see directly in the translation, because I mean, in the Sanskrit, just say that it's very abominable for the Brahmana and the Kshatriyas to take this lower professions, profession of the dog, and the Vipra is Sarva Veda Maya and Nripa is Sarva Deva Maya. So one represents the Vedic knowledge and one represents the powers of the Devatas. So say like that, one represents the power of the Devatas on earth, therefore it should be connected to the Devas, right? So so it should be connected with that higher. It's not just politics, it's not just diplomacy, it's just not intrigue. It should be connected to that higher principles, ethical principles, and cosmic powers. That maybe it's an explanation.
That's a nice way. Yeah, I like that explanation.
Okay, should we stop here?
Yeah. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta ki jai. Take out Hari Hari Bol. So, see you in 30 minutes for Gita. Hari Bol.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
By the
you.
way, tomorrow is Ekadasi.
Oh, okay.